Morning.
Welcome to a discussion of the U.S. Constitution. If you have a copy of the Constitution handy, I would encourage you to follow along. After my talk, there will be a few short videos. My name is Henry Rhodes. I'm coming to you from the Veterans Memorial Center in Merritt Island, Florida. I'm a veteran of the U.S. Navy, serving during the Cold War and post-Cold War eras. I've worked as an engineer and am now an author and a screenwriter. Assisting me will be my colleague, Paul Julian. Paul is also a Navy veteran of the Cold War. After a career in accounting, he now serves in a variety of volunteer positions in service to our community. Enough about us. I'd like you to think for a moment about fire. Fire can be terribly destructive. It destroys homes, whole cities, and forests. Exposure to fire can cause horrible injury to people and can result in death. Yet when controlled, fire is beneficial. Where there is cold, fire provides heat. Where there is darkness, fire provides light, so much so that a torch of fire is a universal symbol of knowledge and enlightenment. Even though few of our homes today have working fireplaces or open hearths, most of the electricity that we use is generated through a combustion process, which is another form of fire. We can thus conclude that fire inject is bad, but controlled fire is good. It is the same with government power. A government can accomplish much that is beneficial to the people, but if its power is unchecked, it can be very harmful. We'll use this graphic of fire to symbolize government power. For most of our history as humans, power was held in the hands of a few men: kings, emperors, warlords, czars, shoguns, sultans. They had different titles, but they operated in a similar manner. These men typically controlled the strongest gang, or they owned the most gold, or they claimed mastery of some special mystical insight. Although a few acted in accordance with the common good, all too often these men and their close followers misuse power for their own selfish purposes and abuse the common people. As recently as a few centuries ago, this was still the common system of government throughout the world. The United States had come into existence by resisting the power of a king. But we had a problem. At its founding, the United States existed as 13 weak little countries that squabbled with each other. There was conflict over borders, navigation rights, which country's paper money was worth more than the next one, who owned money to who, and there were many other things for them to fight over. This system of weak government was based on a document called the Articles of Confederation. You don't hear much about it these days, but if you see that term in a book or as a test question on an exam, now you know what it means. Before the Constitution, we had the Articles of Confederation. The leaders recognized we had a problem. Unless something was done, unless we pulled together, these 13 weak little countries were easy pickings for the more powerful countries in the world. We needed a stronger government. But the leaders didn't want to go back to a single powerful ruler like a king. We had fought too long and too hard against that idea. The challenge was to develop a system of government that was powerful enough to act for the public good, to provide protection to the citizens while restraining the power of the government to do us harm. What they came up was a system of checks and balances. Power was diffused among several branches of government, but no part of the government could become too powerful. And each part of the government had a clearly defined role and clearly defined limits on its power. This is called the separation of powers. The legislative branch, that is, the Senate and the House of Representatives, make the laws. There are 100 senators. Each state gets 2. There are 435 members of the House of Representatives based on population. Thus, every citizen of the 50 states has 2 senators and 1 congressional representative who are supposed to stand up for them. This is described in Article 1 of the Constitution. The executive branch consists of the administrators who carry out the laws passed by the Congress. This is the duty of the President, his cabinet, the leaders of the other executive agencies, the government workers who serve under them, and the members of the military who protect us. This is Article 2. The judicial branch consists of the judges and courts who form our legal system. And the federal judicial system has the responsibility of interpreting the Constitution and determining if a law or its application is wrong. The Supreme Court gets the last word about what is constitutional or not. There are 9 members of the Supreme Court. Their decisions are based on a majority of their 9 votes. The Senate and the House may pass a proposed law. The President must sign the law for it to become effective. But if the President disagrees, he can send the proposed law back to Congress. This is called a veto. If the Congress and the President can't come to agreement, then the Congress can override by means of a veto. But in order to pass a veto, they must have a 2/3 majority in both houses, which is not an easy thing to do. And if a citizen or a group of citizens disagrees with this law, they can seek relief in the court system, going all the way to the Supreme Court, which, as already noted, gets the last word. The President has the right to appoint officials of the executive branch and federal judges, including members of the Supreme Court. Congress must approve permanent appointments. But the Congress has the power to impeach and remove from office all federal officials, including the President. Thus, there are checks and balances among the branches of government and a separation of powers to assure that no one branch and no person accumulates unlimited power. Remember, 3 branches of government: legislature, executive, judicial. Think of this like a firewall, and that it keeps the fire contained and controlled so that power remains beneficial. Since this is only a very brief description, I encourage you to make some time and read the Constitution for yourself. Now I would like to discuss the part of the Constitution that speaks to each of us as individuals, the Bill of Rights. These rights are enshrined in the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. As a citizen, you have a right to free speech. That's in the First Amendment. You have the right to freedom of worship and the right to peacefully assemble. You are entitled to a free press. That's all in the First Amendment. As a citizen, you have the freedom from unreasonable searches and seizures. That's the Fourth Amendment. As a citizen, you can't be tried twice for the same crime, and you can't be forced to testify against yourself. That's the Fifth Amendment. As a citizen, if you're charged with a crime, you have the right to a speedy trial, to call witnesses in your defense, and to have a lawyer. That's the Sixth Amendment. Even if you are convicted of a crime, you can't be subjected to a cruel or unusual punishment. That's the Eighth Amendment. A power not assigned to the federal government devolves to the states or to the people. That's the 10th Amendment. Notice I've skipped over several amendments. Some seem rather archaic, others are still quite controversial to this day. But we're limited in time, so again, I would encourage you to read the Constitution for yourself. Taken together, the Bill of Rights forms another firewall in that it protects the citizens from the government. But at the time this came into effect, to be considered a citizen meant that you were a man of European ancestry. In some places, by local statute, you had to own some land. And enslavement of human beings was still a legal practice in some parts of the United States. Does this sound fair? No, it wasn't fair. Then how did it become better for everyone? The introduction to the Constitution, called the Preamble, starts out by saying, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union." Fortunately, the founders recognized that forming a more perfect union was a continuing process. It meant that the Constitution would need to be amended from time to time, and they designed a process to accomplish this. Article 5 describes this process of amending the Constitution. 70 years after the Bill of Rights came into existence, we engaged in a long, bloody civil war. The result of this conflict was to end the enslavement of human beings in this country. This deplorable practice became illegal with the 13th Amendment. The 14th Amendment says, if you are born in the United States, you are a citizen of the United States, regardless of your race. The 19th Amendment says women have the right to vote. The 26th Amendment says you're eligible to vote on your 18th birthday, an event which is coming much sooner than you think. So far, we have 27 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. I've only hit the high points in this talk. In your lifetimes, no doubt, there will be further amendments to assure that we, the people of the United States, continue to pursue the noble goal of a more perfect union for the benefit of each of you and your children and your grandchildren and their grandchildren after them. In the meantime, please remember this. Your life matters. Your opinion counts. Pay attention to what's going on in the world. Exercise your rights. And thank you for your time. Okay, here we go.
What if we didn't have a constitution?
Do you want a say in your government? Do you want the freedom to express yourself? To wear what you want to wear and say what you want to say? The Constitution protects these rights and freedoms that you can take advantage of every day. People in some countries do not have the opportunities that you experience as a citizen of the United States.
So, how did it all start?
After the Revolutionary War, America's leaders didn't want our new government to be like the tyrannical rule of the King of England, who controlled the colonists' rights from afar. They created the Articles of Confederation, leaving most governmental powers in the hands of the states, not central government. After 10 years passed, they realized the Articles were not strong enough. They were failing. But did our founding fathers give up this new idea of a government for the people and by the people? No. America's leaders met in 1787 to fix it. They decided to create a new and better document, the United States Constitution.
Well, how is it any better?
Our founding fathers created a document that not only set up our national government, but also protected the basic rights of American citizens. Here's how they did it. First, the preamble. This states the purpose of the document and famously starts with "We the people." Just these 3 words were groundbreaking and revolutionary, that a government would be formed and given its powers, not by a king, emperor, or dictator, but by the people themselves. Second, the Articles. These established how our government would run, with a system of checks and balances in 3 distinct branches: the executive, judicial, and legislative branches. Power was separated and distributed so that no one group or person could claim total power over our nation. They would work together in a balance of power. An example of this is how Congress can pass laws, but the President has the power to veto them. Third, the Bill of Rights. These are the first 10 amendments that establish the basic rights of the people that the government will uphold and cannot violate. They're the most famous and recognizable of the amendments. The fourth part of the Constitution consists of the remaining amendments which have been added through the years, making such important changes as the 13th Amendment, which outlawed slavery, and the 19th Amendment that guaranteed women the right to vote. The Constitution is the highest law in the land. No institution, official, or citizen has power over it. It was the collective voice of Americans from the beginning, and still is today.
But can it still be changed?
Yes, but it's a very difficult process, and rightfully so. It takes the majority of people to agree to the changes in order to pass them. Remember why it was created? To promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. This means the Constitution is here for you, for me, and for the future of our country for years and years to come.
We the people means all of us, no matter what our age is. We're all Americans with a Constitution we can be proud of.
What if you weren't allowed to speak your mind openly? What if you couldn't worship freely or disagree with your government without fear of being punished or put in jail? The police could barge in and search your house or you for any reason they wanted without a warrant. You could be convicted and punished for a crime without a just trial. At the whim of a judge, you could suffer cruel and unusual punishment without any hope of justice. This is our country without the Bill of Rights. In 1787, America's leaders met to draft the Constitution, a document that was extraordinary but beyond perfect. This original Constitution explained what the government could do, but not the limits of its power. It didn't protect the people's individual rights. The Constitution was missing something important, something we all know, recognize, and live by today: the Bill of Rights. The Federalists were a group of Americans who thought the Bill of Rights were unnecessary. The Anti-Federalists refused to approve the Constitution without it. Years of intense debating finally yielded on the side of the Anti-Federalists. Why? Because the people wanted their rights protected. They agreed with Thomas Jefferson, insisting that the Constitution be amended or changed to include a Bill of Rights. In 1791, the Bill of Rights was finally approved by the states, making the document official. These 10 amendments represented what the people believed to be our most important rights. Today, you can stand up for what you think is right, thanks to the Bill of Rights. You can expect to be treated fairly by the justice system, thanks to the Bill of Rights. You can trust that you won't be bullied by your government, thanks to the Bill of Rights. Speak freely, pray freely, assemble freely. Raise your voice against injustice. Freely work to make your country a better place for all. Thanks to the Bill of Rights. What if you lifted up your voice, only to be pushed down and silenced? What if your life depended on justice and it was denied to you? What if you thought you were being watched or monitored for no just reason? And worse yet, there was no law to stop someone from doing it. In America, we don't have to live in these circumstances, because our founding fathers, who suffered this reality themselves, created the Bill of Rights to make sure you could live free. Yet another reason it's an honor, a privilege, and a great gift to be American.